I laughed at some parts of that. Okay. Biggs, this character Biggs shows up. He's like, Luke, I haven't seen you in forever, man. Oh, we're going on a mission together. It's going to be sweet. I'll see you later. Okay. Like fucking Dead Man Walking. We've seen enough movies. We know this. They telegraph the shit out of Biggs' death.
Remember when we first met John McClane? Argyle picked him up from the plane and took him down the Nakatomi Tower at the Christmas party. And the terrorists were overzealous, but it was sweet when they killed Ellis. And with a little help from Alan, John McClane kicked ass.
Welcome back to Shat the Movies, the podcast where we answer the question, were the movies we loved when we were growing up really that good? If you've ever caught yourself thinking, why don't they make movies like they used to? Can you still remember spending your Friday night searching for the perfect movie rental at Blockbuster Video? Do you know what Blockbuster Video is? If you answered yes, then this is the podcast for you. I am one of your hosts, Gene Lyons, and alongside me is my co-host, Big D, Dick Ebert.
Good evening.
And each week we take a look back in time, decide if our favorite films still hold up. The movies we cover are chosen by you, the listeners, who generously commission the films you love. If you like to see all the movies we have covered, will cover, want to choose one for yourself, please visit shatpod.com and have a look. At the end of each podcast, we'll provide you, the audience, with a number of wipes each movie takes to get off your respective butts. So thank you so much for listening. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and share with a friend. It's how we help the podcast grow. Additionally, subscribe to our sister podcast, Shat on TV. We review TV series such as Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, True Detective, Lovecraft Country, and Watchmen. Find all information at past episodes at shatpod.com/TV. And finally, if you like to hang out with us live, follow and subscribe to our Twitch channel, shatpod.com/Twitch, and our YouTube channel, where we play video games, host watch parties, and edit this podcast live. And if you would like to play video games with us on Steam, we now have a Steam group for the Shat community. So you can find us there. Or just look for me, Gene Lyons, and add me as a friend. But we are going to get some things going here. The King Bee just picked up a Steam Deck. We got some other people in the Discord that are eager to get games going. So Helldivers 2, Borderlands. We're going to be doing a replay of Borderlands, Division 2. If I get my way, hold fast. So get in there on Steam and look for the Shat community. All that being said, Big D, what movie are we reviewing tonight?
Gene, well, I'm excited. I've been looking forward to this night for a long time. It's long overdue. And it seems like each week we say, great listener, this Mount Rushmore listener. But Jeremiah W., he has to be up there fighting with Steve for the big head on the Mount Rushmore of the Shat supporters. Just in a quick look going back. And I think he's commissioned more, but it looks like this is film number, he's done 7. Wow. He has The Matrix Reloaded coming up, Star Trek First Contact, The Running Man. We're doing Return of the Jedi for him later. He's done Payback, Con Air, Long Kiss Goodnight. Great friend of the community. Is he playing video games with us, Gene?
No, but he is in the Shat Fitness Challenge. So
okay.
There's that.
Okay. Well, I'm just thinking he's all over the place. But tonight's film is long overdue. If you ask anyone from the 80s and 90s, the film series that either got them into sci-fi or got them into loving film, there's a good chance that this film and series is up on their list. And it is the iconic, legendary, one and only Star Wars Episode 4, The New Hope from 1977.
And this really is a terrific convergence, Big D, because it is a Jeremiah episode. It is us going back to Star Wars. We've done Empire Strikes Back, but never done A New Hope, the one that started all. And also, Big D, this is kind of our reunion episode. So I did Popeye with the King Bee last week. I was on the Chop Top Challenge. You were in Tokyo. So we're finally back at home in our seats, well rested and ready to do a big one. Well, Star Wars, later retitled as Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, is a 1977 epic space opera written and directed by George Lucas, produced by Lucasfilm, and distributed by 20th Century Fox. It is the first film released in the Star Wars film series and the 4th chronological chapter of the Skywalker saga. Set in a fictional galaxy under the rule of the tyrannical Galactic Empire, the film follows a group of freedom fighters known as the Rebel Alliance who aim to destroy the Empire's newest weapon, the Death Star. The cast includes Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, Peter Cushing, Alec Guinness, Sir Alec Guinness, Anthony Daniels, Kenny Baker, Peter Mayhew, David Prowse, and James Earl Jones. George Lucas had the idea for a science fiction film in the vein of Flash Gordon around the time he completed his first film, THX 1138 in 1971. and Lucas began working on a treatment for the film after the release of American Graffiti in 1973. George Lucas formed the visual effects company Industrial Light and Magic to help create the film's visual effects, but it wasn't a cakewalk. Star Wars suffered production difficulties, the cast and crew believed the film would be a failure, and it went $3 million over budget due to delays. In the end, though, Star Wars grossed $410 million worldwide during its initial run, surpassing Jaws to become the highest-grossing film until the release of E.T. the Extraterrestrial in 1982. Subsequent releases had brought the total gross to $775 million, and when adjusted for inflation, Star Wars is the second highest-grossing film in North America, behind Gone with the Wind, and the fourth highest grossing film of all time. Gone with the Wind, surprise banger. The Empire Strikes Back in 1980 and Return of the Jedi in 1983 followed Star Wars, rounding out the original Star Wars trilogy. And then, of course, a prequel trilogy and sequel trilogy have since been released, in addition to 2 standalone films and way too many TV series. So, Big D, you're the elder on this podcast. Where were you when Star Wars was released?
When that theme song comes on, I was teleported back to 1978. I'm in the back of the family station wagon. We're outside Kingston, New York, and we are watching Star Wars: The New Hope for the first time on the drive-in. It was an experience I remember to this day. At that point, I was playing with some cutouts because the toys hadn't been released yet. It was an iconic moment, iconic film. That score, it still triggers something in me that's hard to express even this many years later.
So I would say this is going to be a generational divide between the two of us for this film, but many people my age and many people much younger than I am have great nostalgic feelings for Star Wars, feel it in their blood. I am not one of those people, and I have no excuse, because by the time I was born, Star Wars was the biggest movie franchise in the world. But the first film that I saw, being born in 1980, was Return of the Jedi in 83. I was 3 years old. It terrified me. So my mom had to remove me from the theater. She took me next door to see Mr. Mom, which was also kind of scary, that vacuum cleaner. But I really didn't watch New Hope or Empire Strikes Back in their entirety until I was a teenager. So if you recall, before The Phantom Menace was released in 99, they started re-releasing the original trilogy. And I thought Empire was pretty good. It's my favorite of the series, but I really didn't care for A New Hope. And I was left wondering like how it touched off an entire global phenomenon. Because based off the strength of Empire Strikes Back, I could see that being a thing. But based on A New Hope at the time, as a teenager, I thought, man, this movie stinks.
Wow, it's kind of harsh. I mean, I've probably watched this in the different versions a few hundred times in my life. I've owned the VHS copies. I now actually own the full set on iTunes, the legal version, had the full set of toys. I think growing up, you had limited films. Now there's stuff everywhere. If you have a genre, if you have a niche, you can find films, you can find TV shows. Like you said, in the last couple of years, they've drowned the genre and drowned Star Wars in TV shows and movies. Back then was such a scarcity. The 3 films, they were iconic. They came out 3 years apart. It was a complete nationwide event. Everybody was on board. We weren't broken down into our little groups. This film crossed all boundaries and everybody loved it.
Now, we don't normally intro the trailer, but I think it's important for everybody to close your eyes, take a deep breath. Let's do a little imagination exercise, okay? We're in the 70s. We've never heard of a Luke Skywalker. We don't know what a Millennium Falcon is, right? We don't know what a Jedi is. Imagine the trailer comes out and it's trying to introduce you to it in a world where Star Wars didn't always exist, right? I think we take it for granted now, and it's hard to imagine. I got such a kick out of watching the trailers, and they're trying to like ease us into the idea of all of these things.
Yeah, and I think that we take for granted. Yeah. That makes it even more of a miracle that this film became the cultural phenomenon, because it sounds ridiculous. The trailer for Empire, I watched it today, and it's like, do you want love in the galaxy? Princess Leia and the outlaw Han Solo. It sounds like a comedic retelling of the trailers.
It's funny you mention that, because also in the trailer for New Hope, they bring up romance. And I'm like, where? There's like a couple pecks. Romance that does not make.
Yeah, you got to try to pack the box office, Gene. It's going to be one of the first blockbusters. Let's get them all in there.
Let's hit the trailer.
Luke Skywalker was just a farm boy. until he received a mysterious message from a princess.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
She's beautiful.
Star Wars, starring Mark Hamill,
I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you.
Aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper?
Harrison Ford,
Boring conversation anyway.
Luke, we're gonna have company!
I think we took a wrong turn.
Carrie Fisher,
Good luck.
Alec Guinness,
You can't win, Darth. If you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
20th Century Fox presents the most extraordinary motion picture of all time, Star Wars.
Here's where the fun begins.
No legendary adventure of the past could be as exciting as this romance of the future.
Here they come.
May the Force be with you in Star Wars.
Amid a galactic civil war, Rebel Alliance spies have stolen plans to the Death Star, a space station built by the Galactic Empire that is capable of destroying entire planets. Princess Leia Organa, secretly a rebel leader, has obtained the schematics, but her ship is boarded by Imperial forces under the command of Darth Vader. Leia is taken prisoner, and the droids R2-D2 and C-3PO escape with the plans, crashing on the nearby planet of Tatooine. Darth Vader learns of this and orders the Imperials to pursue the droids. So, Big D, while I was watching the opening scene of this movie, I had to pause it, hop in the Shat Discord, and just say, guys, Star Wars is boring. I was ready to get it with both barrels, and I did. People at first thought I was talking about the most recent Disney releases, and they're like, yeah, they really dragged it out too far. And then I told them, no, A New Hope, and they were horrified. They argued that this movie was revolutionary in its effects. They argued that it changed culture forever. They argued that it spawned countless films and TV spinoffs and books. And they're not wrong. All that is great, but let's be real here. This movie, Star Wars, Episode 4, New Hope, it is cheesy. It is clunky. It is unintentionally laughable at times. And I point to, as the greatest evidence, this opening scene, okay? Empire. Shit looks cool in space, looking cool. The ships look cool. They captured Leia's ship. They bring it in on the tractor beam. And we get the door, sparks are flying, door opens. All the rebels are there with their blasters ready, and we get, it's Darth Vader, our first view of Darth Vader. Now, I've been seeing Darth Vader for like the last, 40-something years, right? And in all the drawings of him and the video games and the newer movies, he looks kind of imposing. Gotta tell you, 1977 Darth Vader, despite the big ominous music and the lasers, he looks kind of silly. I was getting a lot of Lord Helmet here. And then around him, you got a bunch of dudes in plastic armor. They're exchanging fire down hallways with a bunch of other dudes in oversized bicycle helmets. The movie looks silly.
Yeah, Gene, I love this film. I have the toys.
Yeah.
I have the bed sheets. But yes, you're correct. Going back and watching it, I've said it before, it's a miracle that this somehow worked because it's laughable. Vader's head is far too large. You're not underselling it. And also, the rebel troops are running around with their helmets off to the side. The chin straps aren't correct. There's actually one of the stormtroopers in the scene that's left in the film runs into the doorway and almost knocks himself out. It's comedically bad. And it's one of those things. We'll get into it later, James Earl Jones. But have you ever seen, originally the film, Gene, was going to be released with the original actor who played Darth Vader and using his voice. Have you ever heard it before James Earl Jones was put into the film?
No, Big D, my Star Wars experience, if you're at the Abyss level, if you're Ed Harris down there with the aliens, I'm on the surface ship. I did not dig deep in this. I have never seen the original footage of the original Darth Vader and his voice.
Well, I'm going to give it to you here. It's a quick side-by-side of the original audio and then what was finally dubbed over in the end.
You are part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor. Take her away.
You are part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor. Take her away.
Yes, that was David Prowse. The original audio, he recorded all of his dialogue. Imagine Vader in his scenes with that voice. This voice, Gene.
You are part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor. Take her away.
You are part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor. Take her away.
It's a very different movie. And from the opening moments, Gene, this is not going to be a military masterpiece. They're all standing in the hallway with their cockeyed plastic helmets. I'm looking at details on the wall that you can tell are repetitive pieces of some kind of packing material. There's random switches. It could easily be a B film that was forgotten. It is ridiculous. The stormtroopers come through the door, and instead of some orderly tactical entry, one person laying down fire, it is a mad dash, mosh pit entrance. People stumbling over each other, people falling. There's no cover, no flanking. They're just running directly into blaster fire. It's chaos. And honestly, watching it that day, I think we must have been just so stunned with the special effects that we did not think about how combat works. It's not great drama. It's not great tactics. But Vader comes in with that voice, and it is imposing.
I should point out that the flaws in this film don't stop at the grunts, okay? This idiocy goes straight to the top. We often talk on Shat the Movies about films that could have ended quickly if, like, cell phones existed or a person made an obvious choice. For instance, why didn't Frodo just give a great eagle the ring and have them toss it into Mount Doom? What if Paul Hackett in After Hours had a cell phone or a credit card or just made any sort of right decisions? Why didn't John McClane just go down the emergency stairs and exit the building or call for help from Argyle's limo, right? All these movies would have been over in 5 minutes. In Star Wars, we've got the Empire capturing Leia Organa's ship. What are they looking for? Stolen schematics, the plans that the spies stole. And then they see, oh, what's this? A capsule is being launched from the captured ship. And at the bridge, the officers go, no, hold your fire. There's no life forms on board. Dude, they know droids exist. They know that computers and holograms exist. You can transfer data. It doesn't have to be in a person's hands, right? You are the Empire. You're an empire that is willing to blow up entire fucking planets. I think for fun, they would have just shot that capsule, called it a day.
Gene, this is complete horseshit. As somebody who served in a military, I wasn't in the Empire, but we would take every chance we had.
Weren't you, though?
Oh, whatever. Let's not get we would take whatever chance we would have to go to the range, to shoot at anything. Range markers, trees in the distance, refrigerators. When we'd go to the demo range with C4, we would try to blow up everything. You would have had a harder time stopping that guy from shooting. He's like, oh shit, target practice. That one moment, Gene, that one call, it completely alters the course of galactic history. If you just shoot, boom, R2 is gone, 3CPO is gone. The Death Star plans are gone. The rebels are lost. There's no Luke Skywalker to join the fight. Why wouldn't you shoot? You're not even like trying to save ammunition, right? This isn't like a cost-cutting maneuver. They're lasers. Take the shot. Take the practice. You shoot at everything. The Empire could have won with one single shot. Vader, I'm surprised Vader doesn't come back later and choke that dude out. But, Gene, we have to remember the origins of this film. It was low budget. People weren't on board. It wasn't expected to be this big masterpiece that today we hold it in such high referential, like a spot in our memory. This is something that people love. I'm an adult man with plastic toys from the 70s. And we all treat Star Wars like it is this flawless vision from the start. But the truth is, Lucas almost blew this entire film up. The series almost never came to be. Just like that hold your shot, that's a moment with Lucas. Because the first cut, apparently, that he put together of this film was such a mess. The pacing was off. There was awkward transitions. The dialogue was clunky. It's clunky in the end, even with the version that we got. But the version he put together, it was nonsensical. It didn't make sense. The special effects weren't finished. And until his wife at the time came in with a team of editors, they stepped in, they cut it, they put it back together. They restructured a large portion of the film. They cut it down, and they saved this movie. Lucas, everybody talks about, oh, it's Lucas, the mythology of it. I talked about Huff and Farts, not too long ago. I don't remember what it was. But Lucas started to buy into his world-building abilities and the mythology of the wills and of the Force. No, this man almost destroyed this masterpiece before it got off the ground. And yes, he's responsible for it. We give him credit. But no, this first film is not the perfect, pure masterpiece that we remember it. It is very close to being the disaster that was left on the cutting room floor in a film that we never would have even remembered today.
Sequence-wise, this is a wacky way to start a series. I can't think of another series where like, okay, we're starting on part 4. What? What about parts 1 through 3? We got it. We're going to put a quick crawl on the screen. It'll explain everything people know about a galactic civil war, and we'll get right to it. On the other hand, I think one smart move they made, I mean, I don't know if you can credit this to George Lucas, but the world, as we said, Big D, was not ready for a galaxy with like a bunch of Jedi and clone wars and Sith lords, you know. I think that they made a wise choice to start us off simple. Smugglers, blasters, hives of villainy, and then slowly introduce the more mystical aspects.
Well, it's a Game of Thrones. They didn't jump out with dragons and magic. No, it was incest. It was intrigue. It was Machiavellian, like power plays between families. But also remember, just like Back to the Future, until Back to the Future was a hit and released on VHS, the to be continued did not exist. Star Wars, when I saw it, it did not have the New Hope scroll. It did not have the entire intro text. It just said Star Wars, and then it was a period of civil war. That was the only thing we got. And then when Empire Strike Back came out, I think that's when they re-released Star Wars with the crawl.
Before we get into actually, as experts on Game of Thrones, we do know that in episode 1 of Game of Thrones,
you get one
the concept was introduced, and we saw the work, the handicraft of the White Walkers be on the wall. Thanks, guys. You don't need to write in, but do write in. The droids are captured by Jawa traders who sell them to the moisture farmers Owen and Beru Lars and their nephew, Luke Skywalker. While Luke is cleaning R2-D2, he discovers a recording of Leia requesting help from Obi-Wan Kenobi. R2-D2 goes missing, and while searching for him, Luke is attacked by sand people. He is rescued by Ben Kenobi, who reveals himself to be Obi-Wan Kenobi. He tells Luke about his past as one of the Jedi Knights, former peacekeepers of the Galactic Republic. Luke learns that his father, also a Jedi, fought alongside Obi-Wan during the Clone Wars until Vader, Obi-Wan's former pupil, turned to the dark side of the Force and murdered him. Obi-Wan gives Luke his father's lightsaber, the signature weapon of the Jedi.
So, Gene, let's talk about Obi-Wan Kenobi. You talk here about he's giving Luke the lightsaber, the weapon of his father, of the Jedi. He spills all the beans to Luke. I don't know what he's been doing all these years, just hanging out there beyond the dunes. As soon as Luke shows up, he's spilling the beans. He's doing everything. And for a guy who's hiding from the Empire, I'm going to pretend I don't know what's happened in the prequels. I'm just watching this and going off of his word. He's hiding from the Empire. Maybe don't go by the name Ben Kenobi or old Ben Kenobi when your real name is Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's not a big stretch. Even Luke, this hillbilly moisture farmer, this hick, goes, "Hey, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you mean old Ben?" He's not a detective, and he put it together. And then on top of it, he's walking around in his Jedi garb, in his Jedi robes. Anybody would say, "Hey, have you seen a Jedi around here?" And they're like, "Yeah, that old dude beyond the sand dunes." You're in a spaceport. People are coming in and out of here all the time. He's trying to blend in, throw a poncho, get a hat, maybe cut the beard, do something, lay low, but don't go old Ben Kenobi. And then he's going to take this moment to bestow his father's legendary weapon. Luke has never seen a lightsaber. You might want to preface this with, listen, this is the weapon of your father. It's an elegant bladed weapon which is powered by a crystal which creates a hot plasma beam which will cut through anything, metal, human, flesh. Give him some kind of warning. Instead of just saying, "Hey, here it is," hands it to him. This is a deadly weapon. There's no explanation. Say, "Luke, be careful. Go stand over in the corner. Hit the button." Luke could have easily chopped his own arm off, shot himself through the chest. He could have killed anyone. They're inside of a small spacecraft. And he's training Luke on this deadly weapon. I would not hand Emma my Glock and say, "Emma, here, hold this. This is the weapon of your father," without giving her a little class on what to do, how to proper safety. Is it a stretch here, Gene, or does maybe all this time alone in the desert, has it affected this old man?
I mean, Obi-Wan was always kind of weird from my accounting of him. My only explanation with the Ben Kenobi thing is that the galaxy it's a big place and finding one guy is hard. But you're right, Big D. Let's say I was trying to find Dick Ebert, right? I think the first thing I would do is have a rough idea of where you are, the United States, judging by the podcast. And then I would just look up Eberts. And I would start contacting some Eberts to see if I could find a relative, maybe, and then find Dick. So on Tatooine, if you're looking for a Kenobi, well, there happens to be one. Maybe Kenobi is like the Johnson, of this galaxy, and there's just tons of them floating around.
But I want to counter your claim that this is a relatively big galaxy. Who built this robot? Anakin built this robot. Somehow he comes back to Tatooine. Yes, it's a big galaxy, but all these amazing intersections of droids, humans, everything seems to be easily tied together in a few locations.
Okay, fair. But also remember, Palpatine, in getting in our Star Wars lore, right? Like, he's like, Vader, stop obsessing over Obi-Wan. We got big shit to deal with. It's wasted energy, right? So maybe Vader was just being a good dog, not looking for Obi-Wan too hard. But you're right, Big D. You can have it one way or the other, okay? Either old Ben Kenobi really wants to train Luke and make him a Jedi, in which case you live on the same fucking planet. Like, just go over to his house and be like, hey, Luke.
Befriend him.
Guess what? You want to go to the academy? Yeah? You kind of bored with this whole, like, moisture farming thing? Let me show you. There's a lightsaber. You do some force shit, whatever. Or Obi-Wan sees it as something needs to be done right now to help out the Rebel Alliance because the Empire is getting too strong. Okay, so you get one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
I think what we're getting from this movie is that Ben sees Luke as the future of the Jedi Order. Okay, but maybe you let the kid sit this one out since you've let him sit the last 18 years out. Okay, Obi-Wan, you take the droids, you find a ship, you rescue Leia, you get the plans. You're a fucking Jedi. You can do this. Or if that's too hard, just find out where the Rebel base is. Take the plans there yourself. Contact any Rebel, chapters that you could find. Instead, we got this guy in his Jedi robes. He's flitting around the Death Star. He's molesting the tractor beams. He's all over the place.
Dude, he knows who Luke is. He's supposed to be watching him. What were you doing? You didn't think this day was going to come where you needed Luke? How about you start by leaving him notes at the farm? Hey, Luke, come out to the dunes. I'll train you. And then it becomes like this Mr. Miyagi going down into the basement with Daniel, and they're trimming bonsai trees. They're drinking. They're getting dressed up in clothes. And then the All Valley comes around. He's ready to fight. You didn't train Daniel like 20 minutes before the tournament.
Big D, you mentioned world building in George Lucas, and I didn't realize what a cultural phenomenon this was until the first time I went to Disneyland and I went and did Star Tours. And people were freaking the fuck out when Star Tours first opened. They're looking around like, oh my God, like we're getting on a transport. Oh, fuck. Oh my God, it's R2-D2, And I never got it because the characters that inhabit this galaxy to me are just silly. I can't take them seriously. I know it's intentional, but I don't understand why. And anyone who's heard our Willow episode knows how much I hated the brownies from Willow. I think it turns out that I just hate any silly little guys in a fantasy film, except for the Fireys and Labyrinth, because Chili Down is a jam. But one of the big problems I have with Star Wars is shit like the Ewoks and shit like the Jawas. And we see the Jawas in this movie. We're in the middle of a fucking galactic civil war. And George Lucas is like, I think we need some silly little creatures to make some baby noises and stumble around Tatooine in their little hoods. Can someone explain to me why Jawas exist? Like, what is the point?
I have an answer, but I don't think you're going to like it.
Okay.
So famously, one of the ways that Lucas got the film made was that he retained the rights to merchandise for the film. So all of it, I think it goes, if we look at his track record after this film, a lot of his characters were designed toy first. Fucking Grogu is a toy, right? You have Jar Jar is a toy. The Ewoks are a toy. Everything is what could I make? I could see him sitting down and be like, oh, okay, let's have some cute little creatures. Besides the fact that they were cheaper to put little people in these hoods with like eyes, like light up eyes. But yeah, it makes a good toy.
Do you think anyone bought a Jar Jar toy? Did you buy a Jar Jar toy?
No, but that shows you how fucked up he was. He thought people would. Misa want the toy. He thought they would do it. That shows you the problem with him. But Gene, in the world building you're talking about here, you could have this cute little race of people who are out there. You have the Ewoks. They're up in the trees. Okay, I'll take it. But a lot of this is built around Tatooine, and we try to look at the world building. George is supposed to be this master of just setting the environment and having us all like live in it with the characters. What is the Jawas deal? What do they actually do? Okay, what is their enterprise? How do they survive and finance this giant crawler? They're on a desert planet, but their whole business model, as I can see, is they drive around the desert in the sand crawler, which is slow, it's big, it's cumbersome, probably a lot of fuel. And somehow they hope to randomly stumble upon droids. They pick them up, and then they resell them to the people in these same sparse communities. They're basically living off of kidnapping droids. You have other people who are moisture farming. I don't know what that's about, because later on they retcon that with the Tusken Raiders, who have these balls that they bury under the ground and get more water than the moisture evaporators and Uncle Owen. But it's ridiculous. Forget the fact they're so small. This is a terrible business model, and this would not support them.
Yeah, they'd be getting their asses kicked daily by the sand people.
Shaking them down.
Yeah, shaking them down constantly.
Yes, I would shake them down. I would come and I would want some protection money. And when they capture the droids, they just happen to all stumble upon R2 and 3PO. And I watched this film with Emma for the first time. And Emma commented on something I had never thought about, was about the fact that 3CPO is not the easiest character to pull for or to listen to. Again, makes a great toy, but he's a bit of a dick. And I started dissecting again in my head, thinking the origins of droids and robots in the world. And you got to think that most droids in this world are designed for a specific task. He's a protocol droid. They're an astromech droid. They have a specific function. Some droids, they seem to live for a long time. They retain a lot of their memories unless they're reset or wiped. But 3CPO, what is his problem? He's a protocol droid. Yet he is the least friendly or engaging personality. If you put him into any diplomatic or environment where he has to have etiquette, he is a constant whining, complaining bitch. He's condescending. He talks shit to everyone around him. Who would program a protocol droid to be this annoying? Everyone around him should want to kill him. I know they turn him off a couple times and they tell him to get out of here. I don't want to hear the odds. But this is not a wise programming personality that you would put into a droid that's supposed to interact with people on a high level or speak Bocce and decode the binary language of moisture evaporators.
Let's take this question a step further, Big D. You've established that the droids all have jobs, right? Protocol droids, astromech droids. Why do they have personalities? Like R2-D2, he's supposed to repair and navigate starships. Okay, cool. I get it. What's with the cute beeping? What's with the plucky little attitude? You know, I think that extends to BB-8. Again, BB-8, excellent merchandising, by the way. We even see a droid in this film. It's an Empire droid, right? That is afraid of Chewbacca. He gives it a, and like it runs, it goes, and it goes away. How is that droid useful to the Empire? Why would you program them to have things like fear or joy?
Not unless you enjoy torturing them.
Right.
Did you ever see Solo, the Solo Star Wars story?
Yes.
So you remember the character L337? Mm-hmm. It was like that wisecracking,
yes,
pro-robot liberation, cool. Right? Do you remember that they merged that with the Millennium Falcon's personality? So you have a complete sentient personality that you have now forced into the operating system of the Millennium Falcon. Nobody ever addresses it. Nobody ever talks about L337. L337 essentially is in a coma, a living coma. And there's one point, I think, in Empire where R2 makes a comment, or 3CPO, about how rude the computer's operating system is. Oh. That is the trapped soul of the robot L337.
Yeah, it'd be rude too.
Fucked up. Yeah, it's fucked up.
Well, R2-D2 plays Leia's full message in which she begs Obi-Wan to take the Death Star plans to Alderaan and give them to her father, a fellow veteran, for analysis. He could have probably beat them to Alderaan, now that I think about it. Luke initially declines Obi-Wan's offer to accompany him to Alderaan and learn the ways of the Force, but he's left with no choice after Imperial stormtroopers murder his family and destroy his home. Seeking a way off the planet, Luke and Obi-Wan travel to the city of Mos Eisley and hire Han Solo and Chewbacca, pilots of the starship Millennium Falcon. Big D, the version of Star Wars A New Hope that I watched was the 1997 version. It was the one with the CGI added in.
Yeah.
And I distinctly remember that Star Wars fans were freaking out when the studio added CGI dewbacks and Jabba the Hutt to that re-release of A New Hope. At the time, I will admit, I was the kid buying the Burger King tie-ins, and I was all about this. I went to the midnight showing and all that stuff. And I thought the CGI looked impressive. I think maybe I thought it looked flawless and very cool. This is why we do the podcast. 2025, this is substandard. I was completely distracted by the hubris and the lackluster execution on the computer animation that they had the audacity to employ and add to this movie. Like the 1977 release, don't get me wrong, it was flawed, but it looked classic. There was a consistency to the look. The changes that they made to it in their version that I saw on Disney Plus, they just look dated and tacky.
So I want to throw a couple layers on top of this. What makes it even worse is that Lucas made the choice to not make the original versions available. We both watched the 97 special editions because that's all you can get.
Got it.
Some of the Laserdisc copies had the option, I believe, to watch the original theatrical version. So his hubris to think that this is the only version I'm going to put out there. And the fan community is actually cobbled together as close to a 4K version of the original by piecemealing the best copies of scenes from all of the available HD versions of the film. But you're 100% right. These weren't done to improve the movie. They were done just to shove in and try again. It sounds like it's ridiculous to say, but a lot of the characters that he forced in were cute little characters that you might be able to sell or that weren't in the tone of the movie. And the worst one by far is the Jabba scene that you mentioned. And again, I don't know if you've seen the deleted scene, which they used for this. Jabba was originally a large human, like a fat dude in a fur vest. They had the scene filmed where he comes out and he's talking to Han. And he's a bit of a aloof and he's a bit of a joke. And he's like, Han, my booby, come here. How you doing? The dialogue's very similar, except it's in English. They took that scene of a human being interacting with Han, the stormtroopers, to where, okay, what happens when Han walks behind Jabba? Jabba has a tail now. So they did this ridiculous jump where Han actually steps on Jabba's tail. It looks awkward, it's out of place, and it's unnecessary. And this is peak Lucas. He thinks he knows better. He's going to do whatever he wants with the movie, and he's going to go out and he's going to do it. And I agree. A lot of the CGI is bad. It is the worst timing. It's forced in just to add little goofy creatures. There's droids fighting. There's hijinks. There's lizards that cut through a scene. But there are the few moments that I think it works where there were deficiencies. And it's mainly, I think, in transitions where you have like a vehicle, like the Millennium Falcon, when it gets ambushed by the stormtroopers, when it's leaving Mos Eisley. It lifts up out of that little like docking station, flies out, looks great. The X-Wings in flight look great. The sand crawler out going over the dunes looks great. Everything else I thought was a total waste.
The dewbacks were my big... I can even live with Jabba. The dewbacks looked terrible. I felt like I was watching those like mind's eye videos when I would take a bunch of fucking ecstasy. Like the animation was just like, ugh! and then they had to like additionally put the trooper on top of the dewback, also reacting to it, and I like it soured the movie for me. It was like mold on bread.
They look like bad cutscenes.
Yes,
from some of the video games. Then you retcon the Greedo shoots first altercation.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Don't care for that.
Han's not a good dude. Han would shoot first.
Yeah.
The space battles, I think, look good. They forced additional stormtroopers occasionally in. I'm okay with that. The lightsaber effect, they cleaned it up. But so many of the little droids and the little characters and the rats, it became distracting. Even the before, these aren't the droids you're looking for, hey, you can go on. That scene is led in by a wipe of a giant, looks like a brachiosaurus, that cuts across the screen in something that's not even as good as Jurassic Park.
Listeners, I am far from a conspiracy theorist, and I am far from a hoarder. I enjoy purging. I get rid of things all the time. My DVD collection is shockingly small. It's mainly things that we could not find streaming for Shat the Movies, and I just decided to buy those things and keep them. I will say this. It is movies like this, decisions like this, to not offer the original anymore because somebody made a creative choice to change the movie, and that's all you got streaming. Or when movies disappear from streaming because they're just not watched enough, whatever. This is a real thing. And I think that I have changed positions, right? I used to be, everything will be streaming. It's fine to get the physical copies. Get the physical copies. Own a DVD player at the very least. VHS if you can get one. It's worth it. It's worth it.
It sounds ridiculous, Gene. And then you have entire series like Westworld that are just dumped and hidden and burned for tax purposes. One day that could be the series you love. I'm right there with you. The ability to have a copy that nobody can ever take from you. Even now, my iTunes versions, they could disappear. Nothing I could do to claw them back.
And that's why I stopped using Band of Brothers as coasters for my beers. Before the Falcon reaches Alderaan, the Death Star commander, Grand Moff Tarkin, has the planet obliterated by the station's super laser. Upon arrival, the Millennium Falcon is captured by the Death Star's tractor beam, but the passengers avoid detection and infiltrate the station. As Obi-Wan leaves to deactivate the tractor beam, Luke persuades Han and Chewbacca to help him rescue Leia, who is scheduled for execution. After disabling the tractor beam, Obi-Wan sacrifices himself in a lightsaber duel against Vader, allowing the rest of the group to escape. Using a tracking device placed on the Millennium Falcon, the Empire locates the rebel base on the moon Yavin 4. Now, Big D, I've talked a lot about the things that Star Wars gets wrong. I want to give credit where credit is due. Star Wars gets one thing very, very right, and that is Han Solo. This is a strange film franchise, okay? It starts in episode 4. Also, our leading man has less charisma, less depth, less character, less sex appeal than a supporting cast member. That is rare in a movie franchise. And this is no disrespect to Mark Hamill. I've met him. He is a great dude. He did a great job. He knew exactly what he needed to do. But Harrison Ford is responsible for nearly all the charm in A New Hope. Luke does get some iconic lines and moments. I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you. Beautiful. Chef's kiss. But give me Han Solo struggling behind the desk at the prison pod, trying to convince the Empire that he's one of them. We're all fine here now. How are you? That is classic. It's the first time I laughed in the movie, and he just keeps it going. Harrison Ford is a rare talent and perfect for this role.
Oh, he's the only person who could fill this role. And you think about what a joke this was to all the actors. Nobody got it. They read the script. They didn't understand it. Han Solo and Harrison Ford was the one guy who got it. A lot of these other actors, besides Sir Alec Guinness, were younger actors. And famously, there was an interview where they had Mark Hamill on, and I'm going to play it for you. It's Mark Hamill doing an impression of Harrison Ford, and it was the moment that Mark Hamill understood what the movie was and understood that Harrison Ford knew what it was, and he said it was a turning point in the film.
For instance, we were doing the scene where it was right after we got out of the trash compactor. We hadn't filmed that scene yet. And I'm looking in continuity and I said, well, wait a second. This is right after we got out of the trash compactor. Shouldn't my hair be all wet and matted with schmutz all through it? And he turns to me and says, hey, kid, it ain't that kind of movie. If people are looking at your hair, we're all in big trouble. And I thought, he's so right.
He's so right.
And that's it. He got it. He was right. And there's the few decisions, I think, that are made along the way that make Star Wars work. There's so many reasons, Gene, it shouldn't work. Besides Harrison Ford as Solo, there's 3 other key choices that they made that turned Star Wars from this goofy, like you joke about Flash Gordon, something along that lines, into a full-blown cultural phenomenon. You have, I think, Alec Guinness. You getting a seasoned, actual thespian to play Obi-Wan Kenobi. It turns this guy talking about space wizards and magic and metachlorians. It turns this ridiculous dialogue into something almost Shakespearean. Then the voice of Vader. If you had gone with that original David Prowse, that laughable dialogue, it takes away some of the menace of Vader. And then the last, it has to be the John Williams score. The John Williams score makes everything better, from the opening crawl to the battles, going through the entire series. Without Harrison, without James Earl Jones, and here Alec Guinness, I don't think the movie makes it. You just needed this right formula to get it over the hump. If you take any of these away, and I do not think the film works.
If I may, I'd like to add one more. I agree with all 3 points, but lightsabers. Star Wars does not make it without the lightsabers. It is the coolest effect in this movie. The lighting is like nothing I'd ever seen before as a kid. The sound, it's unmistakable. Just like the TIE fighters, there are sounds in this movie that will always resonate like in your soul. It is just too fucking cool. The effect is so cool that when you watch like Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi square off and you actually watch that duel, okay, the swordsmanship, it's pretty lackluster. There's a couple twirls for like no reason. We're not talking the prequels here, okay, which were actually pretty cool, I'd argue. A New Hope, this is some pretty bad dueling. I get that it's a Jedi and a Sith, so there's probably a lot happening with the Force. Like, it's like when you watch UFC and you're like, they're not doing anything, but they're doing a lot. You just don't understand it. My point here, though, is not to criticize. It is to praise. George Lucas and crew, they knew that they could overshadow the crappy swordplay with a really exciting weapon that we just had not seen as a viewing public. I will always, to this day, I could be doing anything. If I'm walking by a screen and there's a fucking lightsaber duel, I'm going to stop and watch it. It's fucking cool. There's no two ways about it. It is cool.
It's cool, Gene. But again, you're borderline. This was the CGI version of the lightsabers. The original were like these polyurethane or these blades that they were whacking at each other and people were getting hurt. The original didn't look this good. It looked okay. It looked like, just like I'm sure if the Krull, the Krull throwing star thing, it was great in concept, but execution was a little off. The lightsabers here just
You can't tell me this looked Krull bad.
No, but it was close. The originals, it was close. There's sometimes
Fire Mare bad?
Oh, dude, the Fire Mares are pretty fucking badass. The Fire Mares, I think, were on the other side of the spectrum. They worked.
Well, analysis of the Death Star schematics reveals a weakness in a small exhaust port leading directly to the station's reactor. Luke joins the Rebellion squadron in a desperate attack against the Death Star, while Han and Chewbacca leave to pay off a debt to Jabba the Hutt. In the ensuing battle, Vader leads a squadron of TIE fighters and destroys several rebel ships. Han and Chewbacca unexpectedly return in the Falcon, knocking Vader's ship off course before he can shoot Luke down. Guided by the voice of Obi-Wan's spirit, Luke uses the Force to aim his torpedoes into the exhaust port, causing the Death Star to explode moments before it can fire on the Rebel base. In a triumphant ceremony, Leia awards Luke and Han medals for their heroism.
So watching this again, I'd recently watched again Rogue One, the Star Wars story, and it adds to this film. I think it enhances A New Hope. And on my charts, I've never done like a formal list, but I think if I was going to rank them, I think Rogue One is in my top 3. It's probably number 2 in the entire franchise. It's a fantastic addition, and it fills the gaps in this movie. So leading up to this now, I start to understand the simple line of, spies stole the plans. It makes sense. Okay, why? Because we used to talk about it. How did they design the Death Star, but they didn't think of the thermal port going straight into the reactor, that was going to be like a weakness? It wasn't an accident, and it was actually intentionally built into the plans. It was a vulnerability. Retconning that added depth of the story. It also makes Luke Skywalker's mission to destroy the Death Star more plausible. It's what additional films in a series should do. In the trilogies, the original, the prequels, Imagine if the other films, Gene, had achieved what Rogue One did with this film, build upon the original story and explain holes. How great would it be if every film built upon what the original trilogy was?
I wholeheartedly agree with you, Big D. Rogue One is heartbreaking. It's one of the few movies, maybe the only movie that I saw in a theater where it was dead silence at the end. Like, people were shocked. People were shocked at the ending. They felt a sense of loss. It's like when Obi-Wan, feels millions of voices screaming out in agony. It was that sort of a thing. And it really brings gravity to the importance of these stolen plans, which, by the way, characters in New Hope kind of handle a little bit flippantly, if you ask me.
Seriously.
But I've got to ask a question about that trench run on the Death Star. Okay, so Rogue One explains that this is a vulnerability that was intentionally built in. I get it, okay? The rebels know the mission. They got to drop 2 torpedoes down, basically a 6-foot shaft, and get it into the reactor. And we see a few waves of rebel ships. They brave the trench, and they're shot down each time by Darth Vader and his wingmen. Okay, they're flying in a package of 3. They come in behind the X-wings and they shoot them down. We've got, I think by my count, 5 or 6 X-wings in play, and only 3 of these Imperial ships, including Vader's ship. Right? I wondered, did it not occur to any of the X-wing pilots that they might set up a squeeze play on Vader? Right? You go into the trench, you start your bombing run. He's going to come behind you to try to shoot down. You got other X-wings. Hit him from above, hit him from behind. I'm not trying to rewrite the movie, guys. I get it. But I need a plausible reason why they didn't think of this. As a former cadet major in the Air Force Junior ROTC, I was appalled by these dogfighting tactics.
Well, there is one person who does that, Gene. His name is Han Solo. He does that technique.
He does that.
He does that. If the other squadrons, because I think they lost 3 squadrons who went in previously, yes, either maybe go in more in bulk, maybe do some kind of cover from above. But yes, Han, he goes in there, does it.
Actually, Big D, a squadron is about 12 to 24 aircraft. These were not entire squadrons that we were talking about. Perhaps the entire attack force was one squadron.
Well, I was going to say maybe 3 sorties.
Thank you.
3 sorties. Yeah. Okay.
Which is possibly French for exit.
Possibly. And also, if I can throw it out there, anyone, because I know I had turned off to all the Star Wars series after The Mandalorian, the Book of Boba Fett. I watched a couple episodes. It got like disastrously bad.
I couldn't make it through one episode of The Mandalorian.
Andor is fantastic. Season 1 was a few years ago. Season 2 starts, I think, in a couple weeks. Gene, phenomenal. Okay. It adds on to how it bridges the gap to Rogue One. So it's absolutely amazing. It is what we had hoped Star Wars could have been.
And Big D, as we wind our way toward the end of Star Wars, we get a lot of deaths. Okay, as you mentioned, an entire squadron gets wiped out. And I'll admit, I laughed at some parts of that. Okay. Biggs, this character Biggs shows up. He's like, Luke, I haven't seen you in forever, man. Oh, we're going on a mission together. It's going to be sweet. I'll see you later. Okay. Like fucking Dead Man Walking. We've seen enough movies. We know this. They telegraphed the shit out of Biggs' death. And then I laughed even harder when Porkins died, because they're like, hey, what should we call the fat guy? How about Porkins? He dies. Fucking R.I.P. Porkins. But I felt it was weird that when they got back to Rebel base, okay, yes, they had blown up the Death Star. Yes, they saved their base, okay? But nobody is mourning the loss of the fighter squadron. Nobody is mourning the loss of Obi-Wan Kenobi, perhaps the last Jedi out there, okay? Nobody's mourning the loss of the entire planet of Alderaan. I'm like, where is the maturity in this film? Why is nobody sad? Because yes, you blew up the Death Star, but literally millions of good innocent people are dead.
Dude, not only that, they're more upset that your droid got shot.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, you better do everything you can to save that droid. You better bring it. Then they turn the corner and they're running, and literally it's like a high five. It's like the end of like a movie where everybody gets up and high five. They're hugging each other. They're smiling. They're joking. And keep in mind that Princess Leia, her father who raised her, he was there in the command center. You don't think they would have been upset, Gene, that they lost every living relative, aunt, uncle, grandparent, anyone, neighbors, co-workers, everyone they've known just died.
I don't want to say I'm the most community-minded person in the world, Big D, but like I tried to put myself in the shoes of a person who lost their home planet. Like, if Earth blew the fuck up, I don't know that I could. I think my brain would explode. I think I would just have a stroke and die right there. Earth is gone.
But the first time you got together with a couple other people from Earth, you're going to mourn for a moment. You're not going to try to put back together your droid who just got shot.
Dude, remember Earth?
Yeah,
Fuck.
Dude, I can't believe everybody's gone. Our history, everything. Wow, that sucked. But hey, I hope they put R2-D2 back together.
Well, that was the time in the podcast where we give our wipe scores for Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. Our wipe scores are a way of telling you how many wipes this movie takes to get out of respective butts. 0 wipes is a perfect movie. It's making the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs. And 5 wipes is an absolute disaster of a movie. It's when your day is ruined and you just wanted to go to Tashi Station to pick up some power converters. Big D, as the senior member of the podcast, please do the honors and go first.
So when I finished my rewatch, I had wiped from my memory all the special edition CGI stuff. I think New Hope, I think it holds up. It is truly a special film, a special story. It's groundbreaking. The effects that they did revolutionized film. The score is legendary by John Williams. And what makes it even more special and rare of a film to me is how wildly close this came to being a disaster. You rode that wave, Gene. It was a perfect wave. And it came in. The cast, they thought it was ridiculous. They thought it was going to be a mess and an embarrassment. The studio thought it was going to be a bust. So they gave Lucas all the rights to the merchandise. Who's going to want merchandise for this film? But somehow, all that chaos came together and it created this perfect mix of an iconic film that has lasted this many years later. It is a miracle we have it to celebrate. And I do not want to give any of that magic to Lucas. I want it to be stolen from that guy because he's proved himself a hack, that he didn't understand the true magic of the films. And just going back and looking at, like, ironically, we always talk about how Empire is probably the favorite. Lucas had very little to do with that film. And again, Lucas did not put this film that we saw today on screen. This was all the people around him. So let's not give this man credit for this masterpiece. It was built by a community. And for that, it's a miracle we have it. It's 0.25 wipes.
Big D, I am not one of those guys who wants to raise a child and have them wear the Star Wars sneakers and have the Star Wars backpack and be like, oh, we can bond over this together, Star Wars. But I'm also not one of those fuck Star Wars guys, okay? There's good and bad in this series. I liked Empire a lot. I think it's an exceptional film. I think I gave it 1.5 wipes. I loved Rogue One. I would give that one probably 1 wipe. I think that the universe that's been built, again, not by George Lucas specifically, but overall with all the creative minds, including a personal friend of mine, John Whitman, who has written Star Wars books. It is incredible what they've done with it. But much like Blade Runner, I have to say that world building is no good if I'm bored. And I was really bored in this movie. And I know I'm going to get shit for this. And I'm so sorry, guys, because again, I'll tell you, Empire, 1.5 wipes. Rogue One, probably 1 wipe. For Star Wars, Episode 4, New Hope, I have to come in at 3 3/4 wipes. This is a very bad movie.
Oh, I don't think bad. I don't think
it is bad. It is a bad movie.
It's boring. It is boring.
It's also bad. There are two good actors in this film. 2.
Okay,
Harrison Ford and Sir Alec Guinness. Everybody else is ass. It's got Jawas. Okay,
Jawa ass.
It's got Jawas are ass. Sand people, although my people, still ass. Okay, the plot is stupid as shit. The entire like attack on the Death Star is juvenile. Like the way everybody's acting, it's silly. They're like, oh, this kid from Tatooine, put him in a fucking X-wing. What?
How did they fit Porkins in an X-wing? There's no plus size.
We don't know that his
X-wings.
whole body is fat.
So he has some glandular
maybe he just
problem.
has a chubby face.
Yeah, I don't know how you
like Jim Morrison,
or maybe they just. I mean, they put a crop duster or whatever he was. So maybe they were starving for pilots. Okay,
maybe they built the X-wing around Porkins. Anyway, 3 3/4 wipes. All right. Well, with 3 3/4 wipes from me and a quarter wipe from you, Big D, that gives us an average wipe score of 2 wipes for Star Wars.
So, Gene, with a final wipe score of 2 wipes even, that now ties this in the 158 spot with Tombstone, Blues Brothers, Tommy Boy, Johnny Dangerously, Kids, slightly better than Teen Wolf, and Perfect, slightly worse than Back to School, First Blood, and Desperado.
Yeah.
I always try to take into account the conditions in which a movie was made.
I don't.
No?
But more importantly, that's the thing is I keep hearing the conditions, I keep hearing the impact, and like that's all fine, right? But I'm looking at the film strictly from the quality of the film that was put out, and this is not a quality film. But I'm glad you enjoyed it. And I'm glad millions and millions of people enjoyed it. And I'm glad it gave us all this other IP that I think is pretty damn good. Just not this in particular. In fact, you guys are going to hate me for saying this, and maybe this is a testament to how much I don't get Star Wars. I liked the prequels better than this movie.
Wow. Did you feel that the poster art was a little bit of a bait and switch?
How so?
You got Luke with the like ripped open shirt with the abs and chiseled. Princess Leia's looking slutty. Like it's
well, dude. When Luke's like, "Hey, I'm here to rescue you," she's looking pretty randy in that
right.
In that
but in this, she's got like she's showing like upper thigh, like she's it's. And Luke was not coming in with these chiseled abs.
Oh, dude! Remember when they re-released the toys?
Oh,
and like Luke just got swole as shit. What was that all about?
That was anabolic Luke. The Force was strong with him.
Anabolic. All right, Big D. Well, Big D, I don't think it's much of a mystery what's coming up next, but why don't you tell us about it?
Oh, Gene, I'm so excited. Next week, Luke Skywalker battles horrible Jabba the Hutt and the cruel Darth Vader to save his comrades in the Rebel Alliance and triumph over the Galactic Empire. Han Solo and Princess Leia reaffirm their love and team with Chewbacca, Lando Calrissian, the Ewoks, and androids C-3PO and R2-D2 to aid in the disruption of the dark side and defeat the evil Emperor. Commissioned by Jeremiah W. again. This came out in 1983. I remember this vividly, Gene. I had an episode. My uncle took me to see it. I drank too much water, and I peed in his car. Other than that, great day.
You're peeing in your uncle's car. I'm crying and forcing my mom to leave the movie. I'm going to try to keep it together for this one. I might bring back some childhood trauma. I don't know. So try to keep it together.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to have more problems with this one, surprisingly.
There's a lot of silly shit going on in this one.
Yeah, knowing that we got the Ewoks instead of Wookiees, which was what it was supposed to be.
Oh, that would have been badass.
No kidding, it would have been badass. But you wouldn't have sold toys.
Yeah, Jub. All right, well, thank you, Jeremiah, for giving us the OG Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, and thank you for your future commission. Thank you to all the commissioners who make this podcast possible. That concludes this week's episode of Shat the Movies. Be sure to follow us on social media and share with a friend. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram at Shat the Movies. You can email us, host@shatpod.com. Leave us a voicemail by going to shatpod.com and using the SpeakPipe feature. You can support the podcast by shopping our Amazon affiliate link, buying our merch, or by commissioning your own movie. Find all the information by visiting our website, shatpod.com. Also, check out our sister podcast, Shat on TV. Review TV series such as Lovecraft Country, Westworld, True Detective, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, and Watchmen. Find all the information on our website, shatpod.com/TV. And if you do want to join us for games on Steam, the group is called Shat Gamers, all one word. Come on in. There's about 4 of us in there right now. Let's get it up to 10 by the end of the week. Be glad to see you guys, see what games you're playing, and hop in with you wherever fine podcasts can be found, including Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe. And if you stop by Apple Podcasts, please leave a 5-star review. It helps the podcast grow. On behalf of my co-host, Big D, I'm Gene Lyons. Join us next time for the following movie.
Return for the climactic clash between the forces of good and evil. Return to a galaxy far, far away. Return of the Jedi. The next chapter in the continuing Star Wars saga. The battle for freedom rages on. The heart of a hero The courage of a rebel. The strength of a leader. The loyalty of comrades. The power of the Force. The cunning of the enemy. A destiny revealed.
Is Darth Vader my father?
A legend fulfilled. An epic of heroes, villains, and aliens from 1,000 worlds.
It's a trap!
The quest continues. The circle closes. The saga lives on. Return of the Jedi begins May 25th at a theater in your galaxy.